Hi there, everyone. Rob here with today's Pakhar update, and it is currently a tropical storm that's according to JMA, but by all accounts it has upgraded to a typhoon status, and actually JTWC, or the Joint Typhoon Warning Center out of Pearl Harbor, has upgraded this to a Category 1 typhoon that has winds of about 65 knots, gusting up to 90 knots at times, so a very intense system continuing to intensify as it sits right under a subtropical ridge, thus reducing the wind shear out here. Actually, if you pull up this wind shear chart, you see that the wind shear under it is about 10 to 15 knots throughout this entire system. Anything less than 15 knots is really conducive for tropical storm development or over typhoon development. But at this time, though, a lot of moisture also continuing to flow in out of the tropics into the system. It's being fed in very nicely, and that is also enhancing further development and further intensification of this storm as it slowly tracks off towards the west, ever so slowly, but it does look like it's going to be making landfall here along southeastern Vietnam. According to JTWC, actually they have them making landfall sometime overnight Saturday and the Sunday morning, although JMA expects it to go much slower into Sunday night, into Monday morning. Regardless, though, you're already seeing a lot of these outer rain bands move onshore, and that is going to be the major factor with this system. As these outer rain bands move onshore, those are going to be adding up some rain totals. Up to 500 millimeters could be expected here right along the coastline. So that's spelling a very dangerous situation. Flash floods, obviously, are going to be a very high risk out here, but also the risk of landslides and a lot of pooling water. So really anybody in these low-lying areas are going to be very high at risk as this now tropical storm or typhoon moves onshore here in the coming days. But let's look at the latest microwave imagery, and this is one of the reasons why I say by all accounts it has upgraded to a typhoon, because one of the major factors of a typhoon, or one of the major key points, is it has a well-developed eye. Well, look here in the last several frames, peering through some of these higher cloud tops, you can see an eye developing here as the storm slowly works its way off towards the west, and that is really key on showing the development of this. And also, let's look at visible imagery from earlier today. And this analysis is actually from Weathercaster Pat, and you see the center of circulation here? Well, it looks like an eye really trying to form up. You see all those higher cloud tops around it indicating an eye wall. He also does make some really good points here with the excellent outflow, and in the upper levels here, that's also allowing for rapid intensification. A little bit of dry air entrainment coming in from the south outside of down here towards Thailand. You are seeing that air wrap around, pushing in. But for the most part, lots of really good inflow coming into the storm. So lots of moisture really feeding well into. And that, once again, is why JTWC is now calling this Typhoon 02W, or Pakhar, currently on its warning number 6. Winds of 65 gusting up to 80 knots. A very intense system. But look at this max intensity just prior to landfall at 3106 Zulu. So that should time in the afternoon on Saturday, where you're going to be seeing that max intensity. Then starting to gradually weaken down due to land interaction here with the southern coast of Vietnam. And actually already evacuation orders have been made out here by the Vietnam government for Da Nang down here in the southeast, and several other communities up and down the coast. Really initial evacuations being put out there, and I really do stress, if you are in one of those communities and you are watching this video, I really do stress to just move inland, get out of those low-lying areas. You never want to take a risk, never want to say, hey, I'm going to ride this one out, because if somebody's telling you should evacuate, likely there's a good reason for it. And here is a look at JMA's warning on this. They do have it weaker at 40 knots, gusting up to 60 knots, actually about 25 knots weaker as of their 09 Zulu update. So really a significant difference here. I am leaning a little more towards JTWC because I have seen some actual observations out across this region here, especially coming out of the Spratlys, of winds already gusting up to 45 knots with sustained winds of 40 knots, and that's away from the center of circulation. So I would not be surprised if JMA follows in suit here and does upgrade this storm. So here is our track here at Western Pacific Weather. Actually, this was created by Weathercaster Pat as well. Really good analysis, just showing that storm working its way off towards the west before starting to steer a little bit towards the northwest, following a subtropical ridge off towards the northeast. I do want to note, though, see this large cone of air. All the agencies also have this here, a very wide cone of air being put on the system due to a lack of significant steering flow, and it's moving such a slow pace that that steering could shift one way or the other here in the coming days. So that is going to be a significant issue. Also with the slow movement of this though, as I already mentioned, the rainfall totals are really going to add up, not only here in eastern Vietnam, also out towards the Philippines. See this big blow up convection? Well, this is moisture continuing to flow onshore as it comes towards this tropical system. So you're going to be seeing some very high rain totals, actually up to 300 to 400 millimeters could be expected there along the eastern coast of Luzon, and already severe weather being reported up and down here. I do have a video. Please, if you're watching this at the website, if you're watching this on YouTube, go to the website, and below this video you will be able to find it embedded there. It definitely is a very significant scenario out there, and definitely watching that video will give you a clear gauge on how severe these storms can be. Even if you're hundreds of miles away from the center of circulation, they can still cause and enhance severe thunderstorms, and also causing what we saw yesterday, a very significant tornado out there that actually was on the ground for about 10 minutes. So I do leave you here though with this precipitable water and vapor in the air out here. Basically all of these areas in orange and reds are just showing you the high water content out across much of the South China Sea and the Western Pacific. All this moisture is still pushing across the Philippines and coming up from Borneo, being wrapped into the storm and allowing for more energy to pour into it. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them in the comment box below. And as always, please stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great day.